Hi, Paul Sackett, Good News Planet. I'm speaking to Rachel Smith. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, good. Rachel's a teacher, and we love teachers at Twin Valley Middle School, which is in Elverson, Chester County, Pennsylvania. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, and you're teaching, is it 8th graders there at
I
that
teach
school?
8th grade language arts.
Okay, now listen to this, everyone. 8th graders at Elverson Twin Valleys Middle School are sort of like waiting to meet her. Now, the her happens to be a magnificent looking, I imagine phenomenally driving car called McLaren MP4-12C supercar, has a base price of $229,000, and it participates in Formula One. Do I have all this right so far?
You do have all of this right so far.
The reality here is that the company behind this is using this car to teach. Okay, how wise could that be? Teach some science and algebra and so on and so forth, because it's not easy to make a car. So tell us what's going on.
It all started with a persuasive writing unit that I was doing in language arts. And when we heard that the car had come to America, it just arrived in America around February, I believe. The kids thought the car was really cool, so I just jumped on it because as soon as my kids get excited, I tend to get excited too. So we decided to write persuasive letters to McLaren to see if they would drive the car out here to let us see it.
Okay.
So McLaren Philadelphia agreed to bring the car out. I talked to Chad Sear over there. He's in charge of McLaren Philadelphia from answering publicity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he said yes. And at that point, the kids and I decided that in order for us to be able to go outside and spend time with this car, we really needed to get math and science involved, because that's really what you see when you see this car. You see math and science working together beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
So we did more research. We read a lot in language arts about what the car is made of and why it actually goes so fast. And then in math, they fake bought the cars. They made loans, and they fake sold their parents' cars to see how much money they would need to take out to get the car. It was hysterical. And then in math, they also worked on the drag speed coefficient and a whole bunch of really intense math that is probably too hard for me to figure out. And then in science, they worked on a carbon fiber lab where they studied the strength of materials, which is what the McLaren is made out of, carbon fiber. And they really looked at the design of the car, and then they made their own race cars in science class, took them outside when the McLaren came and raced them for the people at McLaren to show them that they had studied design.
Now, this is school in the new tech way.
Yeah, we really focus on making learning real for our kids, making sure that we're engaging them with something that's real and relevant. And then as soon as we get it real and relevant, we kick up the rigor and make it really hard, and they don't care because they're engaged.
I think it's magnificent, and I think everybody should be doing it. And it's really, really a great, great concept. What is language arts? What does that mean?
I teach both reading and writing. So I have 3 90-minute blocks, and in my blocks, every day we write for at least 20 minutes, and we read for at least 20 minutes, and I try and teach as short a time as possible in front of the whole class, and then I get in there and I write and read right next to them. I read their stuff. We revise and edit right in front of each other and really turn into a community here within the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Let's think about this car here now. I mean, I see a picture of it, and it is one gorgeous, gorgeous car. So,
yeah.
And I love cars. In fact, I have to go get my car in a little while here. And I agree that the tremendous amount of things can be learned by, building a car is serious stuff.
Yeah, it was hard.
How did you break down the car in the sense of learning about it? Because every single screw, every nut, every bolt, everything is a world unto itself. It's a factory. It's I'm really into this. I would make a whole shows about every aspect of a car. So how did you go about to do it? How did you do it? How'd you break it
what
down
I found was that
eighth
there was
grade?
so much material. I mean,
Yeah.
even just in language arts, we could read about this for days. And McLaren actually has a book out about their car, and it's huge. It's like 300 pages. So we had that, and then we also spent a lot of time on their website, which is really interactive and allows the kids, to click on just a door of the car, and then the door will come up with the explanation of the carbon fiber body, or you can click on the engine. And you can just read about the engine or the brakes and just read about that. So we ended up breaking it up so that some kids were learning about, the brakes, or some kids were learning about the door, and then we would share the information together so that each kid had knowledge of the whole car, but not everyone had to read the entire McLaren book to figure it out. And then we also had car gurus, like specialists right in the room, kids who really loved cars and could explain things to us, because a drag speed coefficient is nothing that I have ever even thought of before in my life, and they had to explain it to me. But it worked out because I don't always have to be the smartest person in the room.
Well, that's good, and I love when a teacher says that, because this way you're still learning yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I have never even been in a nice car until the McLaren. It was thrilling.
Well, this I will have to say is a kind of a step up from serious cars. I mean, this is really it's a gorgeous car. And I'm looking
gorgeous.
At the website as well, and it's really magnificent skill to make a car here. So I hear how you did it. What any kind of funny things happen here in the process of this whole thing?
We have a lot of kids who ended up writing stories about fictional stories. They decided I want to write my own fictional story about when I get my McLaren. And then I also had a lot of girls who really could have cared less about a car, ended up falling in love with the McLaren and just the idea of cars and engineering and things like that. And we talked a lot about the different jobs that you could have at the McLaren dealership. I think a lot of people thought you would only have to do the mechanics part if you worked at a car dealership. But in McLaren, there are there are girls that work there, and they're PR people or they're sales people. So we talked a lot about the different types of jobs within one business.
Right.
And I think it really opened the kids' eyes up to, hey, I could be the graphic designer that builds the website for McLaren, because they have a great website, and I'm good at that. Whereas I might not be good at a certain other science aspect, or I might not be good at this, but there's a place for everyone in the McLaren company is kind of what they were ended up thinking. That was cute. And just watching them build their cars, I actually went down to science and co-taught down there for a few days in this process. So they had their language arts teacher in science class, which kind of thrilled everybody. And they worked so hard on these cars, and some of them failed time and time again. And I think that was maybe one of the most brilliant pieces that came out of this experience, was that these kids really did fail. They couldn't make their cars move, and they failed and wanted to give up and realized, you know what, if my car doesn't move, then I'm not going to have anything to show. And they kept trying. They didn't give up in the face of adversity, and we weren't giving them the answers. I just said, you got to make it move. So they were doing the research, and they were making it happen. And for some of them, I think it was the first time in their life that they had just persisted past a point of sheer frustration, which really was a fun thing to watch them push through and help each other through.
Now I see this McLaren. I'm looking at your website now. I looked at McLaren's. It was very cool. I'm really we'll take a link over to your notes from a happy teacher. I love that name. Being there are good news here. You couldn't have a better name. Make me more excited. And then to see these happy faces here of young people. This one girl, is she in the car there?
Melissa is in the car, yes.
Melissa, yes, okay. Math teacher brought over the whole project to a new level, planning out McLaren's math and getting the kids to figure out drag speed, coefficients, and things I do not understand at all. He was even emailing the chief engineer over in McLaren, England. I mean, really. And so what had started as a really painful test prep lesson became a community-building learning experience across 3 cultural areas, and one really amazing day with McLaren MP4-12C. Right on.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was just a great chance for them to see the community come in. I think the people at McLaren had a great time here, and my kids really just felt absolutely loved by McLaren and the press that we've gotten from it. I think they've learned that if you want something, you can get it if you write and try and persist. All
right, that's all beautiful information. Last question is, what's good news for you, Rachel? What's good news for you?
What's good news for me? The best news is that my kids are getting ready to celebrate an out-of-school writing gallery at Cafe 110, where we put up their best piece of writing from the year, and we are going to have the parents and community members out there on a Sunday night to have all of my kids as featured authors to read their writing and be proud and celebrate them and their hard work.